All right, Brianna, how's it going? Nina, how's it going? Good to see you guys. Happy Friday. Welcome to another session of Nail School. It is me. I'm a little injured, but spending my time in the office trying to definitely promote as much education as I possibly can. Yes, and Tracy's here as well. All right, you guys. So definitely want to be able to highlight some of the deals that we've got running. For those of you guys that did not get the new, well, not really new, but
the Bling
yeah, the Bling kit, right? We have the dust extractor, and then you have two of these lights. And then there's also a giant arch table light as well.
I don't know where that is.
Jorge put that. Oh, it's inside. It's inside the office. So I'm going to be working with the dust extractor. We're going to remove some color from Tracy's finger. I'm going to remove the tip, and then definitely go over some of the products. Oh yeah, here we go. So as you guys can see as well, we have also that light as well. The nice thing about this light, I'll just show you guys. Is there a plug right there?
Yeah. Uh-oh, sorry.
What's going on? Good to see you guys. All right, so
there you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and fire this thing on. You can see how bright this thing is. And then the nice thing about this is you could also change out, right? If you want warm, if you want cool. It definitely gives you a lot more intensity. That is really going to make a huge difference, especially if you have a hard time seeing like I do. All right, so the nice thing about this dust extractor is that once you turn it on, it's first of all, it's rechargeable, right, which is great. And then what I could do is I could set this to a maximum of 10. The great part about this is that as you can see, once I actually remove this and actually take out the filter, the fan is covered too, which is great. It's a little bit added protection. Because it's rechargeable, you don't have to worry about that cord. So what I'm going to be doing is going over. So right now we're running a grab bag deal that has the portable electric file. So the nice thing about this is that the actual package, as you guys can see, comes with the ceramic bit. Dude, this deal is crazy. You're getting this E-File, portable E-File, and then you're getting a set of 4 colors, right? Nude colors of manicure. You're getting a top coat as well as a base coat, and the E-File for $45. Like it's absolutely crazy. But I just want to be able to show you guys how this works. If I hold this, you're going to notice it turns on, and then like I'll be able to adjust the speed. As you can see from here, maximum RPMs is 30,000 RPMs, but it's not necessary to run it all the way to that. I'm literally just going to turn it up about halfway. And one of the things that really makes it easy is that, you know, if I'm removing colors, you guys can see, right, I can literally feather, right, straight down the middle and then just lightly work. I use a light feathering motion to try to get off a majority of the product. Okay, so for me, if I'm working on a surface of acrylic, I don't need to dig around the outside. All I'm trying to do is remove as much color as I possibly can, right? And then what I'm going to do, if I'm going to remove this, I don't need, looking for a toenail clipper. I have one right here. So I don't need to, again, if I'm going to remove and reapply this, the best thing for a sculpted nail, right? I'm using a toenail clipper. I could just come to the edge, right? And I could just snap that off, right? So that's just going to be the easiest way for me to reduce as much bulk from the surface as I possibly can. And then like I'm just going to kind of file back to make it even. You can see the amount of volume that I had through the surface. What I'm going to do is try to reduce, and again, I'm not going all the way down, but you'll notice when I'm using my E-File, I'm pulling in one direction towards myself, right? This way. So I'm starting from zone 3, pulling in one direction towards myself with heavy pressure, right? You can see right there, I'm getting kind of close. So I don't want to dig at this point. I want to use a really light feathering motion, tickle, tickle, feather, feather, to try to get this as close down to the surface as I possibly can. I'm not going to use this bit to get around that edge. What I want to be able to do is continue feathering off as much of the acrylic as I possibly can, right? And then once we get, and notice here at the very, very free edge, like even if I'm putting a lot of pressure here at the tip, like she'll never feel anything because there's no natural nail under, well, there's no nail bed underneath this, right? So that I can put a little bit more pressure towards the tip. Then as I start working towards the body, I want to be able to just be really, really light, right? Like again, you'll notice that when I'm using this, I'm using that really light feathering motion. Okay, so what I'm going to do, once I get it down to this point, then I can make, again, like I can come in with the clipper, and then just whatever excess is right there, that's going to be very easy for me to kind of feather off, right? To tickle off. And then all the gel that's around the edges, what I can do to prep it is I'm going to put my arbor band on. Boom. And again, when I'm turning this on, I want to make sure that, again, like if I barely turn this on, look at this, just enough speed where I can just barely touch around the edge. You know, so for those of you guys, again, that don't have an electric file, watch this. You can see I can really get around those edges and kind of just tickle away, you know, any basically like just residue, right? Tickle, tickle, get around, and then start using the arbor band to move across the whole entire surface. There's a little bit of acrylic left, not much. Tickling it all out, cleaned it up, and we're ready for reapplication. So, you know, again, for those of you guys that are looking to get into, you know, using an electric file, dude, the whole entire site is 30% off. And I totally understand, like if you have the budget to afford, you know, the Mercedes-Benz, you're going to definitely go with that one. But for those of you guys that are looking to get into an E-File and you need something portable, dude, this is incredible, right? And again, for $45, like normally if you're paying salon price, dude, you're getting, again, you're getting only 4 gel polishes. So if you're getting, again, the 4 gel polishes, right? And then you get a manicure base and top, dude, and this, right, with the ceramic bit for 45 bucks, you can't go wrong. Okay.
Are you guys coming out with more shades / shaped in full coverage tips?
Oh, dude, we are
Lots of
right
plans.
now in the process of really expanding the line. So, you know, again, it's a lot of preparation. We are definitely planning for some really exciting things the rest of this year. Just want to make sure that we get the right equipment. And then that way, when we're ready to launch, you guys are going to have a variety of stuff that you know we're going to be able to show you guys how to use, as well as using the services that you have.
Is Karen on vacation? I haven't seen her in a while. She's
She's
actually here.
She's here right now.
Filming.
Yeah, she's filming. So we have Swipe, and again, we have a BOGO right now. You buy one, you get one free, right? So for those of you guys that need a cleanser, this is a great opportunity for you to get a hold of this. You'll notice too, like when I came down, like there is a little bit of acrylic residue left on her finger. There's no reason for me to go all the way down. You can see there's probably just a little bit of, I want to show you something cool. We do have this. This is a great bit to get as well. This diamond bit, right, is a great prep bit as well. So, you know, if I'm, again, you know, wanting to get into really tight areas, like you can see that I'm actually able to feather, right, just using this bit. And I just want to be able to tickle that away. You can see how well, right, just touch, feather, feather, right, just try to get that nice little flaking. Look at that, all comes out. Dude, nice and clean. Look at that. And that's the thing too, like just those edges, as you can see right there, you don't want to be able to use something that has this type of volume. Take a look at how thin and small that is relative to this. Get you guys some really good prep bits. These diamond bits are unbelievable, especially if you're doing cleanup work right around the edges. And you'll notice, like if I'm working this on my own finger, like at a very low speed, I can run this over my skin and I'm never going to cut myself, right? So, you know, running this at a low speed, and again, I'm using my electric file. You can see that I'm at 4,000 RPMs. This is a great prep bit. So, you know, once you do some of the detailing and you need to get close around the edges, you'll be able to come in and just basically get it all cleaned up. And then that way, when you're using Swipe, right, you're able to get out like all that flakiness around the natural nail, so that when you're using protein bond, right, you don't have any basically lift lines, right? So what I'm going to end up doing is coming in with 2 coats of protein bond, boom, 1 coat, and then again, just another coat all the way through, and then we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so once we actually have protein bond on the nail, then I can go ahead and get into sculpting. Let me just go ahead and grab myself some powder to be able to work with. I have a large collection and I don't know where everything is anymore, which is, here we go. I'm just gonna grab some color pink. Okay, so for those of you guys, again, that are looking to get a brush, right now, the Signature Series brush, dude, best brush in the market. 50% off. Like, you cannot go wrong. And, you know, again, for those of you guys that are learning to take care of your brush, if you have a brush that has great Kolinsky hair and it's designed really well, one of the things you're going to notice once you remove all the starch, once you get a brand new brush, you remove all the starch, like being able to, again, spin this to a really tight point every single time is huge. The advantage of this brush as well is you'll notice if I flatten this out, look at that, I have a great surface. I prefer to work with the number 12 because you can see even like if I take this, right, and I can get this as wide with my thumb, the nice thing about this is it's never wider than your finger. I feel that yesterday we had a couple questions and they're like, why don't you work with a number 20? Well, I don't want to work with something like, you figure with a number 20, this is a number 12, right? So when I flatten this out and it's like in this, you know, basically the width of the tip of a number 12 relative to a 20 is usually like that big. You can never, like on a finger, like if it's this small, come down without the whole entire bead covering the whole entire nail, you would always have to set it to the side. Where with this, I'll have full control, right, around the perimeter of the nail. So if I'm doing any type of sculpting, then I'm ready to basically, you know, I have control. And you'll notice, right, with this brush, if I submerge my brush and I tap it, if I pull down and bounce inside the powder, I'm always going to get a really nice bead on one side of my brush, right? So I would say that's medium. If I wanted to go large, then I would submerge my brush. I would barely touch it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull down, bounce, 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 multiple bounces. Look at the size. And again, one side of my brush. I'm never doing this, right? I'm never just taking my brush and then I'm like, I feel that a lot of beginners, what they end up doing is they set it on the surface just like this. And then they're like, okay, I'm ready to pick it up. And then what ends up happening is the bead falls back inside. And then you try to get it, you try to get it, you try to get it. And then what you end up with is this giant asteroid on the end of your brush, right? Or what you'll do is you'll take your brush and you'll start dragging a lot of the monomer off and you'll try to water ski through the surface. And then what ends up happening is you have a flat booger on the end, right? We don't want to work with boogers.
Gross.
So my recommendation, again, if you're going small, especially for pinky size, take your brush, maybe tap 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the same process. Pull, bounce, 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 get a nice small bead. Look at this, right? So see the size of that bead? If I take my brush, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I do the same thing, pull down, bounce, 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 I'm always going to get the same, look at this, same size bead. If I take my brush and I tap it one time, pull down, bounce, 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 much bigger. To get the same size bead, again, light tap, pull down, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm always, look at this, same size, right? If I need really small, then like, again, I'm gonna tap a bunch of times and maybe I just have to bounce twice, right? So, and if I need really, really small, I'll show you what you can do. You can take your brush, you could actually spin it. And then if you need to just use the very, very tip to touch it to get something, again, like blending, you can see that you're able to pick up something, again, very, very tiny on the end of your brush. So it's about just kind of tapping the surface, right? If I'm going for large, I'm pulling down and I'm bouncing. And the reason why we want to be able to bounce on one side of the brush is because when we're actually sculpting, all right? So
before you do that,
yep.
Can you help them with monomer to acrylic ratio?
Okay, so helping you guys with monomer to acrylic ratio. To me, there's no such thing as liquid to powder ratio, right? And I'll explain why. It's just too hard to understand because if I'm working with a smaller brush, right? Like if I'm working with something that is a number, right? Number 9 relative to a number 12, like me taking my brush and tapping this multiple times relative to me taking my brush and tapping it multiple times, there's obviously a lot less liquid in this brush compared to this, right? So it changes. What I want you guys to really focus on is this, like, it's all about what does it look like when you pick it up and how does it feel like when you set it down. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the product to move from here to here, right? In the slowest self-leveling motion. Watch this. If I take my brush and I tap it, and let's say I pull and I bounce, 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 and I have great consistency and I set this down to the surface, watch how fast, like, that consistency is really wet and very hard to control. Okay, so it looked good, but when I set it down, it's again, there's so much liquid that it's running off of the nail form. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing. If I submerge my brush and I lightly tap and I pull down and I bounce, 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 and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And watch this. If I slow release it, dude, look at the difference. Do you see like it's not it's moving really slow at a point where if I'm able to just touch this, I can control the movement from here to here by just touching the surface, right? So what we're trying to achieve is a consistency that slowly moves from here to here. Can I get that with a lot less liquid? You can. So like, again, if I take my form and again, I'm holding it down at a 45-degree angle, and I submerge my brush, and let's say I tap it 1, 2, 3, 4, and I pull down, bounce, 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 and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and I release at 5. Watch. Same, look at this. If I'm just touching the surface, you see, I'm just touching the surface. Like it's going to move really slow from here to here, and it's going to self-level, right? Because you have to remember, when we're working on a surface like this, it's a convex surface. The product is, if I held the finger flat and I set it down, everything is going to run into her skin and into the cuticle area. If I held the finger down, it's not only going to move nice and tight towards the cuticle areas, because we want it to move tight around this whole area here, and we want it to move tight around this whole area here. Right? We want it to self-level slowly. We don't want it to run into the corners, and we don't want it to run into the cuticle area. So again, what does it look like when you pick it up? Right? Submerge my brush, tap my brush, pull down, bounce, 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 bounce. Look at this. Do you see this? See how it absorbs? There's no dry spots. That's fantastic. And then when I set it down, if I just wait like 4 to 5 seconds, are you able to release it? And then do you have the workability where if I could lightly start sliding it to get it tight around the cuticle area, are you getting a slow self-leveling roll that moves from here to here? That's what we're looking for. That consistency, right? It's about consistency. Consistency.
I'm supposed to smack you. There you go. That was for you, V. Kilman. Question: what size brush do you recommend?
I recommend this brush right here. I recommend number 12. I recommend my Signature Series brush. Like, dude, this brush is absolutely unbelievable. You guys are going to have the best results with this. Now, so someone had mentioned temperature, right? So in temperatures that are really, really warm, you don't have to wait. I'm waiting 5 seconds because the temperature inside the room right now is like 70 degrees. It's not bad. If it was, say, you got in the salon early in the morning, you just turned on the heaters and it's still in the 50s, dude, you would probably want to wait a little bit longer before you set it down to the surface, right? That way it's slow, it's going to slow roll, right? Because it's, you know, it's going to run faster because it's cold. So to control the run, we just wait a little bit longer, okay?
What about building up your apex or forming the nail perfectly?
Yeah, so that is a great question. When you guys are working, you have to remember that we're trying to get this, right? If this is say Tracy's natural nail, and we build a tip on the end, cuticle area back here. We're trying to get this, right? We set the bead down to the back, right? My brush basically 45-degree angle. I set my bead down. We're trying to get tight cuticle areas. We want the product to move in this direction. We want it to naturally form, right? The thickness, and then we want it to go all the way to the front, right? So that we have the right thickness through this area right here. I don't mind if you applied the product and it was actually a little bit thinner. Say the nail was flat like this, right? It's a lot easier to apply product and create the right thickness on the surface than having to add product. If I'm working around the cuticle area, and I don't have to worry, if I set one bead down and I'm actually able to get a really tight, secure, self-leveling application where everything rolls by itself, right, towards the cuticle area as the product starts moving in this direction, I don't have to worry about this area anymore. The only area that I would have to worry about is actually applying it to the volume. But what I'm going to end up showing you is with the right consistency, if you're holding the finger down at this angle, it will shape naturally for you, right? So don't worry again about trying to get it too thick through the surface. That's why I'm always teaching people when you work, you have to remember, right? Let's say this is, right? This is the natural nail. This is the tip that you just built. It's a flat surface. You're not going to start from here. You're always going to start from here. This is number one. When you set this down and the product starts moving in this direction, your job with the tip of the brush as you're sliding it, right? You're not pushing it or pulling it. You're using a light jabbing motion to get it as tight to the perimeter. And then as the product starts moving down, it will self-level to the sides as it starts moving down towards this area. I'm going to show you right now as we work on her finger.
So start small and build up.
Correct. Start small and build up. That's exactly what you want to be able to do.
Hello, YN. Your nail videos got me go back to nail school at age 50.
Let's go.
That's awesome. I'm
so happy to hear that. Like there's one of the things that we do as a team is, again, with all the new products we have, there's a ton of education that we're actually trying to bring out. But, you know, what I'm focusing on this session especially is a lot of the products that you guys are getting. We want to be able to make sure that you understand how to use the products that you guys are buying. Want to be able to highlight the products so that when you guys get them in your hands, especially after the sale, you know what to do. A lot of you guys are making the investment. I've heard over the last few days after doing a lot of the content, one of the advantages, again, of this brush is how if you know how to take care of this brush, dude, there's been nail techs on here that say, I've had the brush for 4 years. Like, that's how good this brush is. And that's the thing. If we sell you something, right, as high performance as this brush, and you know how to take care of it, you'll notice after I'm done with my set, what I end up doing is get yourself, again, get a ceramic damping dish. The nice thing about ceramic damping dish is I could rest it inside. Then after I'm done, I'm basically going to use the towel to clean it off. And dude, you store it just like this. Like, you don't have, this brush will last you a really, really long time. You're not going to have any issues with it at all.
So it's from the cuticle to the middle of the nail,
yes,
to the tip of the nail.
Yeah. So watch, if I'm doing a sculpture nail on her, what I'm going to end up doing is taking my form. I'm going to take the tab. I'm going to place it below. I'm going to pre-pinch. We're going to try to create, again, a nice, I want, like, for me, and you'll notice, I try to come, her free edge is right there. So I'm coming in the corners just like this underneath her free edge. I'm using my hand. I'm going to tilt this up just like I used the practice hand. I'm going to tilt this up. She still has a little bit of acrylic on the surface, but I don't have to worry about removing it. You can see that I have the form on nice and tight. What I'm going to do to build out the free edge, I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to pull down, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to get a nice bead. Watch this. I'm going to release the liquid here on the back of the towel. And the reason why I want to be able to do that is so that when I set it to the surface, boom, it doesn't move. I'm going to walk it from the top, get it even with the side. Walk it from the top, get it even with the side. Walk it from the top, get it even with the side. Look at this. Bring it even. Walk it from the top, get it even with the side. The top part of the quadrant, I'm walking it from the top. Now, once I have it in this position, this is going to be very easy for me. Look at this. I'm just using the body of my brush. If I choose to go for length, it's not going to move. All I would have to do is pull on it. Look at this. Brush it out to get the length. If I wanted to go super long, all I would do is continue to brush this out. But since I have connection to both sides, I can sit here and use the body of the brush to manipulate shape. I can come around, try to make this as even as I can. I can take my time. I have plenty of time to really get this into great form, right? And you can see, look at this. I'm trying to build, again, as tight and even of a free edge. Like if I turn the nail to the side, look at this. You see how flat this is all the way through? And again, from the end of her growth channel all the way out, it's going to be dead straight. I don't have it too thick. All I'm trying to do is build a nice tip. Okay, so again, once we have that in form, watch this. I have my powder. I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to lightly tap. Let me bring everything in here so that you guys can see. If I submerge my brush and I barely touch it, right? Again, I don't need to scrape it off the back, right? Just nice heavy pressure, pull down, bounce, 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 bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4. I release at 5. Watch this. I can use the tip of the brush and I can really start, I'm using that real nice light slide. I'm sliding, touching, barely touching to get this as tight to the cuticle as I can. As what? As the product, look at this, as the product is moving down. Now, right when I get down to this point here, you see the stress area? This is where I can actually start to brush this through. It's starting to set. And as I start brushing through, do you see how it starts contouring to that really nice shape? That's what we want to be able to achieve. Every single time I brush this through, right? And you can see the upper art. Look at this. All this area here, you'll notice all this area inside here ends up getting real tight to the sidewalls. You can see how I have the arch. I don't need to get this tucked up towards the cuticle area. I have a little bit of space right here. I'm using this motion as I'm working down the sides. Now here's the thing, right? You'll notice I don't have enough product in the front. So what I'm gonna end up doing is submerging my brush. I'm gonna lightly tap, pull down, bounce, bounce, bounce. Watch this. I could lightly take off a little bit of liquid. In between, right, where I built that body and the tip, I'm going to set my brush down. I'm going to pull backwards, leaves the product there. Now, all I have to do is use the body of the brush and just walk it all the way to the front and fill in all of that excess negative space. If I choose to brush back, it's going to blend perfect. Right? But all I'm doing is using the body of the brush. What we're trying to do is create a canvas. That is what I'm doing with my cover powder or my acrylic is I'm trying to create a canvas. If I was doing any type of a glitter nail, then I would actually build the body. I would cap it with clear. But right now, all I'm trying to do is create a canvas. Okay.
If I was gluing a nail tip, I would start from the top, correct?
If you're gluing a nail tip, you have to remember, if you're gluing a nail tip, you're gluing it to the very edge of your nail. You're going to mount that, right? So I don't have a tip actually here, but if you remember in school, you put a little bit of glue in the well, and what you're going to do is you're going to mount it so that you get a connection right to the end of the free edge. You're going to hold it there for about 5 or 6 seconds. You're going to release it, clip it, cut it, shape it, blend it, and then what you're left with, again, is a tip. Just like I sculpted, you're going to have a tip that's going to be basically a nice extension. All you're doing, remember, all right? If this is, again, if this is the person's natural nail, when you glue a tip on, you're gluing it here. And all you're doing is you're basically creating this flush, flat surface.
So would you start the acrylic back here?
Yes. You're always going to start one, right? So if you lay down that bead, let's say you came down, but you don't have enough acrylic and then it left, say, a real shallow space here, then all you would have to do is fill in that area right there.
Kind of like you did on this.
Just like I did on this. You're always going to start at the cuticle area first. The biggest mistake that a lot of beginners make, right? Let's say this is the natural nail and you build a tip. If you build, again, if you lay down your acrylic and then you have a mound of acrylic here, and then you go to the stress area and you go here, and then you don't have enough, right? Do you see like you're getting uneven, or what ends up happening is you end up it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger from this point. From this point, right? When you set it at the cuticle area, the nice thing about this is I will be able to control. So this is actually starting to set. And this is actually nice because what I can actually do is take my magic wand, right? I never get to really do this on the trainer hands, but what I can do is I can come in, I can pinch it right here at the body. I'm not coming flat in, I'm actually coming at an angle right here to hold the body, to give it a little bit more, again, C-curve all the way through. And you'll notice, like, as I release this, as I release the form, the level of, look at this, level of flexibility I'm actually able to create is incredible.
We had a question. Sorry, I just actually. Why is acrylic still preferred in the USA? Every nail salon switched to gel in the EU. Is there a reason?
I think, yeah, so that's a really good question. I kind of relate it to a lot of the salons in the EU as well as in Asia are really, really small and confined. And so what ends up happening is when you're working with acrylic that has a predominant, like, you know, a strong odor, a lot of, you know, clients who have never gotten an acrylic done and they go into a salon and they smell acrylic, it could be offensive to them, especially if they've never smelt it. You know, so if you're, the nice thing about gels, right, is there's no smell, right? So if you're working, and you can create the same looks, you can do the same nails with gel as you can with acrylic. It just takes a little bit more work because you have to use the light to be able to cure it, but you don't have, like, to be able to take the acrylic, this is almost dry, right? And you can see that I'm actually able to come in, like the level of C-curve, right? The level of shaping, customizing, like it's very difficult to do this. Even you can't do this with full well tips. That's what really separates acrylic from everything, is the customizable, like, shaping that you can do and forming that you can do with acrylic relative to anything else is completely different. I also feel there's a lot more regulation in Europe as well relative to the States. But from my experience in traveling around the world and teaching in different places, space is a huge issue. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to been to some of the salons here. Some of the salons here in the States are mega. They are massive, right? So,
it's a little
you
more
know,
common to work at home.
yeah,
There too.
yeah, and again, it's all personal preference. You know, there's still a lot of acrylic artists out there. It's just not like it was in the past. There's a lot of new products. So this is dry and ready to go. So what I'm going to end up doing, I want to be able to show you when I'm working on a new nail. And notice I keep my brush where? I keep it inside there, okay? I want to be able to reduce the edges of my file so that I don't cut my client. So at this point here, what I'm going to do is I'm always going to focus on my sidewalls first. All right, I want to make sure that I'm getting it nice and even from the sides. I'm trying to round this off. I made it pointed just because I'm going to end up coming in and rounding this off. Okay, so you can see, like, you see that ledge, you see that shelf. Like, if I'm holding the file here, it rounds off and then it's a straight ledge that drops. So the trick, right, to getting them dead straight, if I turn my customer's hand to the side here, right, you'll notice there's, like, I might be missing a little bit of product, but that's not a problem. You can see if I'm holding the finger here and I'm keeping contact and I'm filing up and I'm filing up, I want to try to get that, again, as straight as I can. I'm not really concerned, right, if I'm missing. Like, there could be just a little bit right there, but that's not a big deal because you can see my sidewall. Look at how straight I'm actually able to get that from the end of her growth channel all the way to the end. I have a really straight, right, lower arch. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. You can see a lot of it is hanging below her lower arch. So I'm not going to start in the corner and file in. I want to start from the lowest point, keep contact, keep contact, keep contact, being very, very gentle. I'm not putting pressure into her skin. I'm putting pressure this way, right? so that I have really nice straight. You can see if I'm looking down the barrel of the nail here, look at this. If I flatten this out, you can see that with that stiletto shape, look at how I have a nice C curve underneath all the way to the front, but you can see how dead straight it is coming all the way in to the very end of the tip.
What colors on my nails? This is Tackle cream clay.
Yeah.
This one's something orchid, and then this is slate, right? You
Yeah, I
used
use
yesterday for
slate.
manicure.
So we're gonna go over some of the color application right now. We're just focusing on.
How thick should the free edge of the nail be?
So like you can see, like this is like from the side profile, like you'll notice, right? I have great arch, right? So that is, again, it's super thin right here, but as it's moving up, I have volume through here. Most of the volume is up through the stress area here. There's a little bit of volume towards the cuticle area, but that gives me room to file. I'm not going to use my hand file to do this. Let's go ahead and break out our portable. All right, so again, right, we have this. And then what I want to be able to do is I'll just switch out to my get your safety bit. Dude, this is the sale. Get yourself like 4 or 5 safety bits. I'm not joking. Load up on safety bits, 30% off. Always, as somebody, myself, Karen, Trey, everyone who does nails on a regular basis, like you should be switching these out monthly. Okay,
I got the acrylic bundle at Black Friday sale, and I want to use the colors. I have gel on now. If I remove all but a thin base of the gel from my nails, can I apply the colored acrylic on top?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Just make sure that you texture the surface of that thin shell, protein bond, and the acrylic is going to stick really, really well to it. Okay, so you're going to notice, I'm going to turn this up. So if I'm looking at the side profile, here's the thing. I'm looking at the side profile, and I want to kind of angle this bit so that as I'm working down the center, I want to be able to, again, get that shape right there. Then what I want to be able to do is look down the barrel of the nail, and I'm going to file in one direction. Really, most of my pressure is a little bit past, again, like the stress area, but I'm trying to get this as even as I can from side to side. I'm going to lower the speed. I don't need to go super fast. I'm going to use my electric file in one direction. I'm barely touching the surface, and all I want to be able to do is take down volume, all right, so that I'm actually able to use my hand file to do the rest of the work. I'm going to rest my hand file around the cuticle, right? Light. I don't need to be heavy, right? All I'm doing is just cruising, right? Look at this, very, very light around the perimeter of the nail. I'm setting it right here, literally resting it to the back, and I'm barely kind of touching around the edges to get it tight. I'm literally going to file my left side, and I'm coming down one direction, this way.
Is it the same idea for hard gel to get the basic structure and then refine after application?
It's 100% the same. It's 100% the same. That's what we want to be able to do. And then I'm going to use this right here to get that right side, right? It's the same structure. Okay, so once I've actually built this out, let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
How would this compare to doing a square shape?
So there's no different. Like, so you have to remember, if I'm doing square, then my side walls are going to come out dead straight like this, right? They're not going to taper in like this. They're going to go dead straight. If I was using a diagram to draw this out,
Oops.
Remember, here, let me just do this.
Sorry.
Right? So if this is, again, the person's nail, all right, if this is the person's nail, like I want to make sure if I'm doing square that these are my growth channels right here, right? I want my free edge to come dead out so that I have a square shape. If I'm doing an oval shape, I'm just making sure that I have this. If I'm doing stiletto, I want to make sure that the free edge I build is going to be really, really sharp.
What about the C-curve?
So again, your natural nail has enough C-curve. The nice thing about the nail that I actually built on Tracy, oops, sorry, let me come out this way. I just wanted to file finish this. The nice thing about the nail that I built on Tracy is that I was able to pinch the nail quite a bit, right? So Tracy actually got a ton of C-curve. Like you can see underneath, look at how much I pinched it. Do you see that? I have a ton of C-curve inside there. It's very hard to tell if I was holding it down the barrel of the nail because the sidewall, I mean, the lower arches are so flat coming out. But since I pinched the nail, I was actually able to really dial it in and get it super, super tight.
I find my free edge is too thick when I do square. Any tips?
So when you're done, make sure that you're looking down the barrel of the nail here. And then what I like to do is rest. Like I'll use the hand file and I'll rest it on the front. See, I'm putting a lot of pressure at the tip. And so what I'm actually able to do is really refine that front end so that it's really basically tapering it down this way. If you're struggling, again, try to build something that is a lot like, just remember, right? So here's the thing. If this is the nail, if this is your natural nail, and you build your free edge again, just like this, boom, right? Don't start from here. What I'd like to see you do is set your cuticle down. So let it start running. And let's just say like the product starts running and you don't have enough volume here, right? You have enough upper arch through here. We're going to connect is this way. But do you see how like I'm following the shape? Like I'm not going straight out like this. Do you see that? I'm not building something that goes straight out to the very, very end. I'm setting down a pearl, then having it self-level so that it matches kind of the cuticle area. Right? So what you want to be able to do, again, is if you're building, if this is the natural nail and you build this out, don't start from here. Practice setting it at the cuticle area and having it run and then have it feather down, right? So that you have less volume at the tip.
You can always too, sometimes if you don't want to file too much, like if I file anymore, I feel like I'm gonna get it too thin, but the tip still looks too thick. You can take your mandrel bit,
come underneath.
And come underneath. You just angle it at 45 and it just thins it out beautifully and gives it a little curve to it. It looks really nice. My natural nails are getting quite long and are curving on their own. Not sure if I'm doing something wrong because of all the product on them over the years, or is this normal? It might just be your natural nail.
It might be just your natural nail.
My natural nails curve.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off. I can see right there, I might have just gone a little bit too thin, but honestly, I have enough volume through the structure that it's going to be okay. I wanna be able to show you guys something crazy. So if I actually take protein bond, right? And again, I'm only concerned, and I'm going to put a nice coat around the whole entire structure. And the reason why I want to be able to do that is because I'm going to apply gel over the surface. So if I build the structure here, and then I'm using, so there's, again, like I just want to show you guys, look at this.
As a do-it-yourselfer, what's the best way to minimize the regular acrylic smell so it doesn't fill the house for days?
Dude, you got to go with this. You got to use extreme low odor. Like, honestly, if you're using ELO in your house, you're not going to smell anything. Like, so, you know, traditional acrylic, no matter what you do, it's going to linger. It's very hard to get the smell out of the house. If you're using extreme low odor, dude, I'm telling you, you don't smell anything at all.
What nail shape would you say best complements a naturally wide fingernail?
So you have to remember, if somebody has, you know, wide fingernails like myself, like if I build a nail out, the nice thing about acrylic is you can pinch. So if you have, again, say a wide, right, a much wider nail. If I take acrylic and I build, say, a full well tip, just like this, just like that, right? Let's say you're right here. If I build a full well tip and I wait, say, 3 to 4 minutes, okay? Then what I can do is I can take the wand, or I could use the inside of my thumbs as the product starts to dry, and I can pinch right there, just right there in the front, right? You're pinching right here, and what that's going to do is it's going to make those growth channels a lot slimmer.
I think almonds, like that helps. And then
Yes, almond
almonds
shape.
complement it really nicely if someone has a naturally big nail bed.
Yes. Yeah, again, square doesn't help.
Do you clip off the natural nails before application?
I try to clip off as much as I possibly can, definitely. All right, so let's go ahead and use, let's see, we'll use toothless gloss. No, I want to use Dust Bunny. Let's use Dust Bunny.
Is it better to really sit there and refine with the product before it dries, or is it better to refine after it's applied?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, Tracy?
Is it better to sit there and refine with the product before it dries, or is it better to refine after it's applied?
No, you have to refine the nail after it completely dries. You can't refine it while it's setting because then you're going to disrupt the bond.
How many hours should the whole hand take while making acrylic/gel?
So in the beginning, when you're learning how to do this, I always feel that it's going to take a little bit more than an hour. My first set.
Mine was 5.
Yeah, my
5 hours.
My first set took me almost 4 hours to do. So I wouldn't be frustrated. You just have to remember that when you're learning the process, right? When you're learning the process, the whole goal is to master these fundamentals, right? You have to be able to master good preparation. Second is going to be your application. And then last is your finishing. So it's always broken down into these stages, right? Your preparation, again, in the beginning, if you're spending 10 minutes, which is quite a bit of time, that's okay. You're learning how to do this. If your application is taking, say, 30 to 40, and again, I'm going long, 30 to 40 minutes. That's like 3 minutes to 4 minutes a finger. That's okay. You're learning. And finishing as well. If you're spending, say, I would say a minimum of 2 minutes a finger to file and apply your top coats and everything, that's another 20 minutes, right? So this right here is an hour and 10. If you're at 1:30, absolutely fine. Even in the beginning, if you could get it to 2 hours, great. If you were like me and it took you 3 to 4, you know what?
Everybody starts there.
That's everybody, like, dude, that's absolutely fine.
Technique first, speed will come.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show you something cool. Like, I went ahead and applied my first coat of. Wow,
I think the bottom is
jammed up.
the bottom shelf is jamming it.
I don't know what it is, but what I want to be able to do, I got my first coat of gel polish on the nail, which was Dust Bunny gloss, and I want to be able to show you guys, like, so if I took a real fine glitter, which was diamond dust, what I can do on that tacky surface is I could use this and just kind of, again, shimmer this onto the surface. Just tap, tap, tap. And then what I can do is end up brushing this through, really trying to get these into the edges. All right, so you can see what it ends up happening. It ends up creating that image. I want to be able to press this flat. What I usually do is take a form, and then I could use this, right, just to kind of compress everything onto the surface so that I don't have it sticking to my fingers. A great way to protect, right, just to kind of press this down. This is a great way on top of your gels, right, to create a little bit of a glitter application. And then what I'm gonna do, like depending on, you know, you could use either the finish gel, the matte top coat, which we just launched again. So I want to be able to show you this. The matte top coat is unbelievable.
I have a nail drill. I'm having problems. Can you help? The drill spins, but when I go to use it, it stops. Any ideas?
What machine are you working with?
It doesn't say.
Okay, so again, not all electric files are created equal. If it's stopping, it probably doesn't have enough torque. Go ahead and go inside the light trace. It probably doesn't have enough torque. You know, the advantage, again, of the equipment that we sell, like this portable, you'll notice if I turn this on, right, and I even at a really low speed, like look at this, a really low speed, if I took the back of a brush, I just want to be able to show you guys this, right? Look at this. If I took a back of a brush and I'm putting a lot of pressure on the back of that brush, it doesn't stop. Right? So if it does not have the right torque, the machine is not going to work really, really well. I feel that. Go ahead and bring that out. I want to be able. So, like,
someone's asking what color you used.
So I used Dust Bunny, and then I put a matte gel top coat over the surface. I'm not cleaning it up yet. I want to show you why. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, again, some real cool effects to the surface. You can take, again, let's go ahead and grab, right?
I always struggle when removing the form before building up the rest of the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Could I build the structure and the extension and then remove the form?
You can, but you have to remember, if you don't remove the form, it's going to get in the way of your finishing, right? So, like, you're basically saying she builds the nail, right? Is that what she said?
I think because you removed the form. Did you remove it and then pinch and then add? No, I don't remember. Let's see. I keep losing it. I struggle when I remove the form before building up the rest of the structure. Can I build the structure and the extension and then remove the form? Yes, absolutely.
100%. 100%. Let's go ahead and get
with acrylic.
With acrylic. All right, so I'm going to use Look Don't Touch, and let's go ahead and get some butterfly wings. So one of the things I want to be able to show you guys, especially to take advantage of these, right? We have the stamping kits as well. The nice thing about the stamping kits, let me just get this out of the way so it's nice and clear. Actually, flip this over, and I'm going to use this just to clean the edge. If I go ahead and pick out any one of these designs, the ones with the thinner designs, what I'll do is I'll set this on the opposite side. Try to get this again down so that you guys can see. And then what I want to be able to do is load up a heavy amount. And then I want to make sure that I scrape firmly through. I'm going to immediately pick this up. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to line this up dead center. See that? Sorry. I'm going to line this up dead center onto the nail. Dude, look at that. I mean, that is unbelievable.
What is a good way to keep your natural nail strong underneath acrylic or gel?
A great way to keep your nails strong under acrylic
or gel overlay.
So, like, you know, I've had this debate with a lot of people all the time. if your maintenance, if the removal and the reapplication of the product, like during maintenance, if you're taking it down and you're getting really, really rough on your natural nail is going to continue to thin during fills. So what I recommend doing, again, is just being really cautious in maintenance. Fiber gel is an incredible way of like keeping strength on that natural nail. So whatever you're applying over the surface, it's going to stay nice and strong. But you know, if you have weak natural nails from the very beginning, go ahead and set that down. If you have really weak natural nails in the beginning, no matter what you take off, your nails are going to be brittle. Like Tracy and I are working on some non-enhancement type products that we're going to be bringing to market later this year that you're going to be able to apply over your nails and just strengthen them if you're wearing your natural nails. You guys will see a ton of stuff coming to market from Young Nails soon that, again, is not gel or acrylic, just nail strengtheners that we believe, you know, for individuals out there who are not going to be wearing it to get their nails back into great shape.
You say that removing the form works with acrylic. Does that apply with hard gel?
Yes. So removing the form, if you're building the nail, and you're sculpting, if you're building the nail, just put lower show my hands, but if you're building the nail and then you have the form and then you build the body and you finish out the body, then you can take the form off when you're done. But here's the thing I want to make clear. It depends on what you're going to be doing. So if the problem with going through that whole entire process is if you keep the form on while you're building, you might not get the light to penetrate all the way through. So what we all like to do is we like to build the free edge first, cure inside the lamp, then take the form off. That way there's a level of transparency at the tip so that when you're building over the top, the gel is going to cure all the way through. So what I would do, I would remove the form.
Is that kit 1 or 2? You know what? I don't know. It's the boho plate. Whatever kit has the boho plate. Can you use the one-step gel polish with the stamper?
No. So you're going to be using regular nail polish, right? With the gels are not going to stamp. You're not using gels to stamp. We don't have a stamping gel, right?
Some say that using a rubber gel under enhancements is helpful. Can this cause lifting?
No. So what the closest thing here's the thing. The closest thing that you're going to use that like people are calling rubber gels are we have a product called fiber gel, and it's a super flexible product. But you guys can see, right? Like, so that was the nail that was done with, again, I removed it. I was able to remove the product using the E-File. We built out the acrylic nail. I applied the gel. I did one coat of Dust Bunny over the surface. I compressed the glitter on top. Then what I did is I used the matte top coat. I stamped it and then did a second matte top coat over the surface. And as you can see, dude, you're going to get that design, right? So, you know, again, sharing you guys the whole entire process from beginning to end is really, really important. Learning to take off the product, showing you how much to take off the product, resculpting, reshaping, rebuilding. It's all about maintenance. How do you remove it and reapply it without doing damage to the natural nail? That is the key to your success when it comes to the salon. And that is the most important thing as we continue to teach and show you guys how to work. Make sure you guys take advantage of all the deals. If you're cleaning your plates, remember to use an acetone polish remover. You want something that's going to, again, clean out the plates so they're super clean. Take advantage of the brush deal. Take advantage of the E-File deal. And then, you know, obviously take advantage of the lights, the dust extractors. Everything is 30% off this week. The sale runs all the way until next Wednesday. I'll be back on Monday with more education. We're going to continue down this road, showing you guys how to do real life stuff. I'm going to continue using Tracy as my model, answering questions, showing you guys how to remove, reapply, and helping you guys get to that nail ninja status. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys have a safe weekend and look forward to more nail school. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys.